Week 3, we've got a big episode coming up here. A lot of stuff to cover. I'm joined, as usual, by the Talon Nelson. Long way Council Bluffs, but now he's back to the obviously superior IAbasketball. Nelly, are you ready for this giant game we've got this week?
I'm ready for a packed episode this week. I am.
Yeah. We got a lot to cover today, so let's get right into it. Today, we're going to be doing our picks. We're going to start the show off with our rankings for the week, and then we're going to finish it with games of the week. Also, just now being announced, and we will have some teasers for this in the days and weeks to come. Our top 15 player rankings for each class. We're going to slowly release a few of those every now and again. And Nelly, I think we said that we're going to try and release that on Christmas Eve, the full list for each
That
class.
will be Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So be looking forward to that. Like I said, we'll kind of throw out some random rankings for each class, some of the players on there. Just to give you guys something to look at throughout the winter break. No games going on that week, of course. So, all right, we're going to get right into it. Like I said, we're going to start off with rankings right here off the get-go. We'll post these graphics on social media tomorrow, but there's Class 4A up there. As you can see, new number 1, Cedar Falls. They got a huge week last week. They beat Linmar and Iowa City West. Huge wins for the Tigers. Respectfully put them up at number 1. Well-deserved. Buke Senior moves up into the number 2. Valley drops a couple spots after their upset loss to Dowling. That was a big game. Hawkeyes Northwest moves up to number 4. Johnston and Linmar drop some spots. Kennedy is up. Iowa City West down. Dowling, Hawkeyes, and Sioux City East all get a boost in the rankings. Ames drops a spot. And now for 4A, we have 3 new teams right there. Muscatine, Davenport North, and Davenport Central all get some love in the rankings this week. And then Ankeny falls to number 16 after their very tough schedule that they've had to start the year.
Yeah.
I think this is, I've gone to watch them, and they look like a good team, but unfortunately, they've just had a gauntlet of a schedule. Nelly, do you have anything to add to these rankings? If not, that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, Ankeny has a tough schedule. Played Johnston, Hawkeyes, of course, and then also Valley and Ankeny Centennial. I mean, that's not something that you want to face in the first couple weeks of the season. But I do want to highlight this Muscatine team. We've been hearing you in the comments. The rankers have been hearing you, and this Muscatine team could be legit. They came out and they beat North Scott. They beat Iowa City High. They're a solid squad and definitely some team to watch out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. They kind of came out of nowhere. I honestly didn't know if Muscatine was going to be a very good team, but obviously they're showing us that they're here and they're getting hyped and now deservedly in the rankings. Let's move on to Class 3A. Not much movement at the top, 1 through 5, all the same from last week. And then right in a row there, 4 with Knoxville, Storm Lake, Waller, and Assumption all getting boosts in the rankings. Pella, they fall to number 10 this week. I believe they lost to, who did they lose to? I don't recall who they lost to last week, but Pella drops in the rankings down to number 10. Des Moines Christian, Gilbert, Newton, and Xavier and Glenwood all get boosts in the rankings. They go up. Solon is down this week to number 16. Some key games going in for 3A this week. Number 8, Waller. They take on number 7 in Class 4A, Iowa City West.
Game of the week.
Yep, that's the game of the week that we're going to be looking at here at the end of the show. Number 10,
Pella
Pella.
lost to
So
Grandview Christian.
Pella lost to Grandview
That's who
Christian
Pella
last
lost to.
week. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I
Yes.
remember that. I didn't. Nelly
By
spotted
3.
me on the score there. I didn't post that one. I don't think so. That's probably why I didn't know that. But thank you, Nelly, again. Number 10, Pella. They take on number 12, Gilbert, this week, and number 11, Des Moines Christian takes on number 6, Pella Christian down in 2A. So those are some of the key ranked matchups for Class 3A. And speaking of 2A, we'll take a look at those rankings here. Class 2A, West Lyon, West Burlington stick in the number 1 and 2 spots. Monticello goes up 1. Cascade goes up a couple. Pella Christian drops 3. Trainer goes up a spot. Western Christian down a spot. Unity Christian gets a boost up. Grandview Christian goes 3 up after their win against Pella. Grundy Center goes up a spot. Tri-Center up 4 spots to the number 12 spot. So Tri-Center getting a big boost in these rankings. Applington Parkersburg new to the rankings this week. Regina stays put at 14. Forest City up to 15 from not being ranked last week. And Alburnett drops a spot. There's some key games this week. Number 15, Forest City. They take on number 2, Clear Lake from Class 3A. Our game of the week, which we'll talk about momentarily, number 3, Monticello, and number 4, Cascade. That will be a very interesting game that we'll be keeping our eye on this week. It looks like that's all I see for ranked games this week, other than Pella Christian taking on Grandview Christian, like I just mentioned, with 2A just a moment ago. So we will finish off our rankings for week 3 with Class 1A. The top 4 spots stay put. Northland, Madrid, Marquette Catholic, and Woodbine all stay. Keota and Holy Trinity Catholic swap 5 and 6. Remsen St. Mary's, Bedford, and Coon Rapids Bayard all get big bumps in the rankings this week. Bedford won the game of the week last week against Mount Ayr. That was a good win for them. Gladbrook Rhinebeck drops a few spots after they lose to Grundy Center, a ranked 2A team. Lake Mills drops a couple spots to 11. Janesville, new to the rankings.
They're hot.
Who did they beat? Dunkerton, that's
They beat
right.
Dunkerton.
So Janesville beat Dunkerton, and they leapfrogged Dunkerton in the rankings at number 13. Baxter new to the rankings after a hot 5-0 start. North Mahaska new to the rankings with a 4-0 start. And Mount Ayr will stay at the number 16 spot. Still 3-1 with a close loss to Bedford, who's now in the top 10. So, yeah, that's our top 16 for each class, rankings for all of them here in week 3. And, Nelly, it's time for us to get to our picks. But quickly before that, we will take a look at our picks from last week. Let's see. This was kind of weird, something that we didn't have to deal with football. We don't even have 2 picks for Nelly because they got postponed from the weather. So
that is true.
We came to the decision that it would just be, there's no other way. We just have to wait for those games to be played. And then whatever happens, we'll update the points going forward. But with the games that were played, 4-0 on his locks last week. He got every single one. I did too. He missed his 2 dogs that he picked, which was Lisbon and Waukee Northwest. And then I hit 2 of my dogs, missed 2 of them with Grundy Center and Cedar Falls. Talon, you got to be careful here. I'm starting to pull away. 6-14.
Yeah. Don't get ahead of yourself here.
It is a long season.
Early season. I'm just warming up. I'm new to this.
Yeah, I said that to Cade during the football season. But, in any case, I believe in you, Talon. I think you're a ball knower better than I, but I guess we'll see. All right, let's go. We got to get underway with our picks this week. We'll start with Class 4A. Talon, do you want to get us underway with your picks?
I will get us going. My 4A dunk of the week is going to be number 10, Sioux City East playing Council Bluffs Jefferson. Sioux City East through 4 games has a 33-point differential. They are plus 33. They are absolutely crushing it. Christopher Loggins III probably could be, if we had an IA basketball all-name team, I'd have to throw Christopher Loggins III on there. He's averaging 14.3 points per game, with Fahmi Yusuf also adding on 14 himself. Now my dog for 4A is going to be number 16, Bettendorf, playing number 13, Davenport North. Rough a couple games for Bettendorf as they lost against Assumption and Linmar, but Cole Odafe is still shining. He's scoring 24.3 points per game with Ben Kirchhoff behind him at 12.3.
All right, yeah, I like those picks. I picked Sioux City East in week 1, I think, and that one worked out for me. Yeah, I like that name drop there. He's a really good player, not just a fun name, but also an incredibly talented player who we've got our eye on.
And also, to correct myself, Bettendorf is no longer ranked. Sorry about that.
Okay. Well,
they are not number 16. They are probably on the bubble.
Well, that's okay. We understood what you're saying. My dunk for this week, I'm going with Valley. Fresh off of their 1-point upset to Dowling. The crosstown rivalry is still running hot, and we saw it freshly right there against Dowling. They take on Urbandale in the big Tuesday slate of games, and I mean, outside of that loss to Dowling, I mean, they have looked like a really good team. Their last 4 games, they won against Ankeny week 1 in an 11-point win. Won very handily against Southeast Polk. They beat an extremely talented Hawkeyes Northwest team. I mean, this is a very strong Valley team. I mean, honestly, I'm not really worried about that Dowling loss. I think you just have to – it's just one of those games that the other team, maybe some things went their way that wouldn't have on any other night. I still think this is – one of the top teams in the class, extremely talented, and I think they can take care of business against Urbandale. My dog for this week, I'm going to ride the hot hand with the Maroons off to a 4-0 start, and obviously the most impressive one so far is against Valley, not taking anything away from Dowling. I mean, what they did was, something that nobody else has been able to do yet this season, and I don't think many people will do this season. So, I honestly didn't have Dowling in my cards as one of the top CIML teams, but they're kind of emerging as that. But they certainly have a big game ahead of them. Johnston, they lost to Hawkeyes Northwest last week and then bounced back over the weekend against Dallas Center Grimes. So this is going to be a tough battle for Dowling Catholic, another big game for them. And if they beat Valley and Johnston within a week of each other, I think you have a conversation. They're a top 3 team in the state. They are extremely talented. It'll be exciting to see how that one turns out. So we'll move on to Class 3A. Nelly, who are your dunks and dogs?
Dunks and dogs for Class 3A. My 3A dunk is going to be number 2, Clear Lake. They're playing Clarion Goldfield Dows. Thomas Myers off to a hot start, 20.5 points per game in those first 2 games. Clear Lake is going to be a tough team to beat this year. I mean, they've got a lot of solid players playing well together. And my 3A dog is going to be number 8, Waller, playing number 7, 4A, Iowa City West. They are playing up against Iowa City West. That is the game of the week, so I'm not going to get too into it. But I do have Waller beating Iowa City West in a little upset.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really key game right there. Like you said, I think that'll be one that we'll happily talk about much more later. So I'll get in my 3A picks. My dunk, I've got Ballard, number 1 team. After the Assumption fell a couple weeks ago, and they haven't looked back. 4-0 start. They've beat Norwalk, Bondurant, Boone, and they beat North Polk 77-44 on the 13th. So Jude Gibson, 15.2 points per game. He's been leading the way. the junior, has been helping this Bombers team get off to a great start, and they're taking on Carlisle, and they have a common opponent with Bondurant, who Carlisle lost to 65-50 on the same night on the 13th. So I've got Ballard to pull out a win there and start the season 5-0. And my dog for this week, an arguable dog, Des Moines Christian taking on Pella Christian from a class below, but fairly higher ranked. I think these are pretty equal teams in terms of their skill level, but looking at Des Moines Christian, the guy to know so far has been Max Town, the junior, 18.3 points per game for him. He's been lighting it up for Des Moines Christian. The Lions, in those 3A rankings that we just talked about earlier, number 11 in there, and I think this would be a really impressive win on their resume. I think it'll be deserving for them to get a bump in the rankings next week, should they be able to hold out in the rest of their games. So we will move on to our 2A picks. Now, I forgot to take off the background in this one. Sorry, this one's kind of gross to look at. Talon, take it away.
My Class 2A dunk is going to be number 2 West Burlington playing Danville. They have a plus 30-point differential through 5 games, and they're second in Class 2A behind Kemper Catholic. They're scoring 83.8 points per game. And I'll tell you what, I don't think this game's going to come down to the wire, but if the game comes down to the wire, Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth. You better hit it one shot. I want Mason Watkins. He's averaging 32.6 points per game on 65% from the field. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I like that one there. No Nicey this week. I'm a little disappointed.
No Nicey.
But that
got to switch it up.
Yeah, I like that one. All right, my lock for this week, I didn't feel like going in. I realized too late that we both had West Burlington as our locks. I think you said it right there, better than I could. West Burlington, they've been phenomenal to start the year. Mason Watkins has been an absolute baller in 2A, and especially for West Burlington. Really exciting to be able to watch him. So I will talk about my dog going up against your lock, Clear Lake. This one's kind of interesting. Not a ton of games to pick from in the 2A slate. I think this one will be closer than some might think. They have a similar points scored average through 5 games for Forest City, 2 games for Clear Lake. But Forest City has had a bit more success on the defensive side than Clear Lake. So I'm going to bet on the Indians to pull off this would be quite the upset. Forest City number 15 in the 2A rankings and Clear Lake number 2 in the 3A rankings. So we will see who comes out on top on that one. I will be definitely interested to see. It's always fun to watch the ones where somebody has the one team as the lock and the other one has or the dunk and the other one has the dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we will get into our...
I also forgot to mention my dog for 2A is number 4 Cascade playing Monticello, number 3. That is the game of the week. We will talk about that later. I guess I got a little caught up in the Mason Watkins
It's okay.
fiasco. He's incredible.
It's hard. It's okay. And like you said, we'll talk about it a little bit with the game of the week in that one. But we'll move on to 1A. Nelly, tell us your 1A picks.
My 1A dunk for the week is number 5 Keota. They're playing Belle Plaine, and Keota is 3-0 right now against teams below 500, which Belle Plaine is. Billy Kerngren leading that squad, 22.4 points per game. Could be a team to watch out for the rest of the year in Class 1A. I mean, kind of quiet at the start, but they're rising in the rankings. And then my dog for Class 1A is going to be Remsen St. Mary playing the number 1 team in 2A, West Lyon. That will also be the game of the week, and we will talk about that one later.
I really like this Keota team. They've risen up the ranks fast. I mean, they've played a lot of games to start the year. I think they're 5-0 already. I might be wrong about that. I know the first week they played like 4 games 5-0 in 1 week, and they've been earning it, and they've not lost a game yet. And like you said, I think this is definitely a team to be watching out for. as the weeks pass. So I'll get started with my lock for this week. I'm getting Coon Rapids Bayard 4-0 start. This team was fairly low in the rankings to start, I believe. But they have certainly risen up. They are getting a really hot, playing really good basketball. Cal Hayden, the junior from the Crusaders, 24.2 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per game, and 3.8 assists. He is leading his team in each of those three categories. I mean, and he actually, I was wrong about that. His brother, Ty Hayden, a sophomore, is beating him with 12.5, but Cal in second with 8. I just looked at the Hayden, to be honest, and I just assumed, but I'm glad I corrected myself here. But nonetheless, Cal has been playing absolutely phenomenal for the Crusaders, and he has been central to the success. And I'm really excited to see how well this team does in the future because right now they're looking like the sky's the limit for them. My dog for this week, an arguable bubble team in my opinion. I was honestly kind of surprised when Southwest Valley wasn't thrown into the 1A rankings this week. But they take on the number 16 team Mount Air, and I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to show that they deserve to be in those rankings. Alex Morgan, he has been leading the way for Southwest Valley in their 3-1 start. He's got 19.5 points per game so far, 11.8 rebounds per game. This has been a matchup that has been undoubtedly dominated by Mount Air. They're 20-3 in this, I guess, rivalry you could call it, and since 2013. However, Southwest Valley won last year, breaking a streak from Mount Air that lasted since 2016. So I'm going to take Southwest Valley to try and start a new era for themselves against Mount Air.
A new air.
What's that?
A new air from Mount Air.
A new air. All right, we're going to go ahead with our games of the weeks to wrap up this podcast. We'll start with 4A. And as usual, Nelly, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Game of the week for 4A is number 1, newly anointed number 1 Cedar Falls versus number 8 Cedar Rapids Kennedy. This will be Kennedy's first real test this year. They've been absolutely blown out teams, plus 39-point differential in 3 games, with Trey McCowan leading that scoring with 25 points per game. But we saw what Cedar Falls did to some other top 10 teams in Iowa City West and Limar. They beat them by a score at 5. Anthony Galvin, of course, leading Cedar Falls with 19 points per game. I don't think there's anywhere else you want to be besides Cedar Falls this week.
Yeah, that's a huge game, and tip your cap to Cedar Falls, a team that has started with an extremely challenging schedule, and they've made the most of it, and they have been, in my opinion, well deserving of the number 1 spot here in Week 3, and I'll definitely be interested to see which way that goes in that game. So Class 3A, Week 3 game of the week.
Class 3A game of the week is number 8 Waller versus number 7 in 4A Iowa City West. Recently mentioned Iowa City West did just lose, big loss against Cedar Falls, but hopefully they're looking to bounce back against a 3A team here. But it will be no easy task as Waller has a triplet of players playing: Connor Walsh, Owen McClearly, and Luke Welbus, all averaging over 13 points per game, and they have 2 big wins against Assumption and Western Dubuque. Of course, Jeff McCaffrey is going to do his thing, averaging 25 points per game for the Trojans, but I can see this game going either way.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a pretty good time to be a student athlete at Waller. They have just been absolutely dominant, it seems, just about every sport they play. So fun to watch that school thrive. And like you said, it's hard to pick against Jack McCaffrey, who's been lighting it up, and I've been loving seeing the film of him. He looks like a really talented ball player. So Yeah, that'll be definitely a fun one to keep up with. And like you said, I think that one could go really either way. Class 2A game of the week, Monticello and Cascade. What do we have?
Number 4 Cascade versus number 3 Monticello. Cascade, of course, Jackson Learance, 22.8 points per game, and they also have some pretty big wins against a tough Northeast squad that I got to see play in person against West Branch. And then Dubuque Hempstead, a 4A school, a big win against a 4A school for Cascade. They are a tough team to beat. But number 3, Monticello, also has two pretty impressive wins against some solid teams in Bellevue and West Liberty. Conley Schauf, I'm not sure how to say his last name, but he's averaging 20.5 points per game. He's been hooping. But both these teams pretty evenly matched. 71 points per game for Cascade versus 62.8 for Monticello, and then also allowing 48.8 for Cascade and 47 for Monticello. I mean, you can't get much closer than that. This should be a really good matchup.
Yeah, and either way, whichever way that goes, it's going to be a huge boost in the rankings for either of them, I'm sure. So we will finish this off with our Class 1A game of the week.
Class 1A game of the week is number 7 Remsen St. Mary versus the number 1 team in 2A, West Lyon. Remsen St. Mary had a close game against Galen Catholic, but they did pull it off. And Sam Schmillen is averaging 17 points per game for Remsen St. Mary. They're looking like a good squad so far, but they are going to run into the 5-0 West Lyon. Carson Hoogveen, 17 points per game, and Jordan Meyer, 14.8, including a plus 24.8 point differential in those 5 games, absolutely blowing teams out of the water. This West Lyon team is hot, but I can see the fire starting to burn out against Remsen St. Mary.
Yeah, that'll be a really good one to keep up with. And that's going to do it for us. That was a well-developed show there. We got all of everything that you need to know. This is your one-stop shop video for this week in basketball. Don't forget those player rankings next week. And don't forget to keep up on the socials. We're going to be posting scores all week. Those rankings graphics will go up tomorrow before those games go underway. We'll have plenty of interesting stuff, game winners, anything you can think of. And don't forget to send us that stuff. I mean, we can't post these game winners and these crazy dunks and crazy long three-pointers. We can't post that stuff if you don't send it to us. So don't be shy. We're always checking our DMs. We're always checking our mentions for that sort of thing. So we appreciate you guys for showing us so much support. 5,000 followers last week. So I hope that we can keep that up. And hopefully you guys are enjoying what we're doing here. But for now, me and Nelly will sign off, and we will see you in a couple weeks. No show next week because there's nothing to talk about for winter break. So we will see you before the week 4 game slate. See ya.